So there are times when you come across people on your social network who are extremely talented, who are willing to share their knowledge, who are willing to share their journeys, and they just simply mesmerize you with the amount of talent that they have. Welcome to Tester Speak Season 2 with your host Brijesh Deb, and you're watching this on the Test Chat YouTube channel. And today we are going to be talking to somebody who is immensely talented and is sharing his knowledge very proudly with the community, with all other testers, and doesn't mind having fun. So, without any further delay, let me have the pleasure of welcoming one of my favorite people online, and that is Priyank Shah. Welcome to the show, Priyank.
Thanks, Brijesh. Thanks.
Right. So, I have been following Priyank for quite some time now, and I see that he's immensely talented. He's appreciated by every colleague that has worked with him. And to name a few, I would say, Anand Bagmar is one of them, Lavanya Mohan, and now he's working with two more favorite people of mine, and they are Abhijit Vaikar and Shyam Shashi, two brilliant testers with a lot of knowledge, a lot of talent, a lot of skill, and a lot of words too. So, how does it feel, Priyank, to be working with such stalwarts?
It's a really. Basically I'm enjoying the opportunity. In fact, I learned so many things from them. So yeah, uh, it was really a great opportunity that I feel that. Uh, and with each individual I learned different qualities. Like Anand has a very motivates you.
Yes.
Lavanya, Abhijit, and Shyam. Basically, when you have discussion with them, they always understand uh, your ideas, and also I got to learn from them also. And they propose innovative solutions of any problem. So, and the good thing is that they are very down to earth and easily
Absolutely.
approachable. So yeah, that's a very good thing that I learned from them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, some of the most wonderful people that I have known over the years. So, Priyank, how did you get started with testing?
So in the year 2008, basically, I started my testing journey, to be specific, because in the year, for 1 year I was in supports and maintenance project. So I started my testing journey specifically in performance testing area.
Hmm.
It was earlier non-functional testing. I used to learn, I work with with Cognizant, and got opportunity to work with uh, very JPMC, and many other clients. So initial years, when I join, when I get into performance testing, I personally didn't like, but I after that I enjoying that. I think that performance is very critical area, and mostly people are not thinking about that.
Yeah.
But if so, initially I started with a non-functional testing. So after that I got opportunity. I learned so many tools, so many technologies, and I always get into that performance engineering aspect where you need to
Yeah.
understand the broader spectrum of how the code works, and what are the internal things, how JVM works and everything. So that way I started, and gradually, after I exploring initial 2 to 3 years, I got an opportunity to work in functional areas. So eventually, I consider myself to be fortunate that I got opportunity to work on various areas of testing, non-functional as well as the functional. Still, one area is missing, that is security testing. So God knows, in upcoming years I got that opportunity too. Yeah, but overall it was a fantastic experience.
Well, and you know what the fun part is, that in a lot of companies, testing is an afterthought. People
Yes,
build it and then they later on they realize, oh, we should have tested it because the customer is facing problems. Okay, and the thing is, things like performance, security, they are afterthought of that afterthought. Until
yes,
the customer faces an issue, people don't realize. So, right, right. If the
yeah,
customer is complaining, oh, my data was breached, then they will say, oh, we need to do security testing. If the
yes,
customer is complaining, hey, my website or app is not launching, it is taking a lot of time, then they will say, oh, we must do some performance testing. Or if
yes,
you are in a situation where you have a crash, the big billion days crash, if you remember the most famous one.
yes,
Okay, then people will say, oh, we should do a lot of performance testing here. What happens if there are so many users on the same day? So
yes.
that's the situation they are in, and then they realize. So I want to understand this aspect of performance engineering. Okay, when you say performance engineering, how should I get started as a tester with regards to performance engineering?
So, performance engineering, or and that it's a very broad areas. Basically, performance testing is one of the subset, and apart from that, there are major chunk of codes, basically how it performs. So for that, it involves debugging, app profiling, and etc. Many other things. So, in order to understand how performance engineering area, get into performance engineering area, first of all, you need to understand how your code works. What is the internal of your GVM? So basically, you can, pick any. I'm just referring to Java.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So for that, yeah. Internal things. Uh, I mean, uh, Learn very thoroughly. Academic experience is one part. So when you get into that real project, you need to understand how database affect your performance, how JVM works, what is that, and on the top of that, you need to understand internal things of Unix ecosystem. There are many other areas. So yeah, that way you can start. But basic and foundation level, you need to understand. You need to learn. Linux basics, then database internals. How can you optimize your queries? And other thing is other aspect is your technical stack, or internal things of your platform, Java, C sharp, etc. CLR internals and everything.
So do you think there is an overemphasis on automation, and not enough emphasis is given to the aspect of, say, performance or security? Do you think that is true in the industry, or what is your opinion about that?
Internal, yeah. In earlier days, yeah, it was pretty much automation centric when the emergence of QTP, and it was there. When you ask someone or who belongs to management stuff, so performance is very afterthought, definitely. So initially, how your application works functionally, that was the primary, and after we realized that, oh, we are getting that performance hits, we should have done this before. So but now, gradually, we are trying to incorporate in when early performance test. So whenever you write your code, a developer needs to think about that, this query is not good, or how can I optimize my loops, etc. How can I reuse, how can I impose a caching mechanism in code, so we can reduce some performance, or reduce some calls, etc. So yeah, definitely internal things, how your application, overall, you need to understand the architecture of your application. So for that, you need have the active discussion with your developers, sharing the ideas. So yeah, initially, where typically in SDLC model, where testing in general, afterthought. So we had boundaries, like you cannot, I mean, you just as a QA or tester, you just need to focus on your areas. So 1 plus 1 should be 2. You should not get into internal why, I mean, what is the calculation, how it behave. So currently the good thing in by emergence of agile, where the this barrier got removed.
Yeah,
So it was, now we are gradually moving that, performance and all type of testing should be part of your development life cycle itself. It's not a separate thing.
absolutely.
And again, it's a very controversial that automation maybe, I would say automation is very necessary indeed. But when you say automation, it's not just limited to UI or any fancy tools. Yeah. When you think of automation, it could be, it's a part of your deployment pipeline. Maybe unit testing, it's also one kind of automation.
Yes,
you
yes,
are you are just checking your automation code, I mean, your functionality by checking various data condition, etc. And when you so these are the part of, I mean, pile, I mean, flow of your deployment journey, which is automatic. So that is eventual, I mean, that I would refer as an automation. You can include your UI test, or performance test, etc., without any manual intervention. But that doesn't mean that you don't need to test manually. Manual testing is also part of, it really, by manual and automation, they are not replacement, they are complementing each other. Certain thing, definitely human eyes are more powerful than tools. So what to
absolutely.
automate,
Now
how
you.
to automate. Yeah, sorry.
No, sorry. Please finish your point.
So what to automate and how to automate, it's a thing, man. If you, I mean, if you automate mess, you just get automated mess, nothing else.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, and I'm happy to see that you are more of my kind of a guy who has that thought on automation. Okay, I so what I see as a trend is people are following some sort of a bandwagon bias. Okay, they look at some people having fun with automation, and everybody wants to go in that direction. And of course, this is spoken so much. Now, yesterday there was a a Twitter thread from Michael Bolton, and he spoke about how the tool vendors they market their product, and the senior management when they look at those figures and numbers and data that is being thrown by the marketing teams of those tool vendors, they go for it. And when they
Yeah.
go for it, they sort of force the people to follow that line of thought. So even if you are starting, even if you want to think holistically about testing, what the management forces you to do is think of using that tool because they've already purchased it, because they've fallen into the trap and they purchased the tool. So what do you think is the right approach towards automation? Look at the tool first, or choose the tool according to what you are trying to do.
Tool basically, uh, I mean, you, you should not consider your automation around your tools. So tools is, basically there are multiple factors. So who is using that tool? Uh, okay, and you have the talent. I mean, are a person or people are aware of that, or it requires steep learning curve. And what is that ROI? So these really tools helping us. So first of all, we need to think at the quality aspect. So really, this tool will help to improve our product quality, or it just fancy things that we are looking for. Tool basically, you know, uh, doesn't solve the quality problem. It may help. Uh, should be in wise hand. First of all, actually, you know. Good carpenter is because of his crafting skills, not for a
Right.
fancy hammer. Okay. So that is the main thing that we need to look for. So if you have that good tester, or even not, I would label as a tester, be it any software engineer who has the quality aspect in mind, who has the good development and testing skill. So if you give any basic tools, he can really craft good things and really adds the value. He doesn't require fancy tool, because it really limits him, limit her or him, himself. So bet on people, not on tools, I would say.
Bet on people, not on tools. And don't think about the shiny hammer. Look at the
Yes.
craft as a carpenter. Well, brilliant analogy, great examples. And I like what you said. So all those people who are running behind all these, learning Selenium, and then, okay, now Selenium, everybody is doing. So for a change, let's look at some API testing tools, and suddenly they start learning Postman and Karate DSL, and then they say, oh no, we have to think of something else also. So then somebody throws the whole DevOps thing at people. Say, oh, DevOps is there, so let's learn Docker, let's learn Kubernetes. Let's, without actually understanding what is going on and why do you need it, right?
Yes.
People simply jump and onto the tools. Now, I'll tell you an incident that happened with one of the companies where I worked. So, very first meeting with the customer, not exactly the first meeting. I think it was the meeting where it was a decision was to be taken if we are going to do the project or not. Okay, and the customer says, okay, you know what? I want a DevOps pipeline to be built, and this is the dictation coming from the client. Okay, and I want everything to be done in a DevOps way because I want to reduce my time to market. And imagine what is the first question that is asked to the customer. What are the tools that you would like us to use? And I'm like, hang on a minute. Do you understand what they're saying? Okay, their problem is faster time to market. Okay, that is something that you should be solving. So in order to achieve that goal, if they say that DevOps is going the DevOps route is a solution for them, then have a discussion about it. Do you or your team understand what DevOps entails? Do you understand the culture aspect of it? Do you understand the infrastructure aspect of it? Do you understand the engineering aspect of it? When you talk about DevOps, you have to think of all those. But surprisingly, the first question that was asked is, okay, what tools? So that's why, if next time somebody tells me about it, I will ask them to watch this interview with you and refer to those two lines that you said about the tools and about the automated mess, of course. Okay, so in one of the previous responses, you spoke about unit testing. As a tester myself, can I help in unit testing, or should I help in unit testing? First of all, should I help?
Unit test, it's a very dev centric thing, yeah, but as an first of all, I do not believe in defined rules, because testing is it's not a separate activity than development. So unit test, yeah, if you have capability to understand the code, definitely you can pick some stories and write unit test. But when it comes for I'm just referring to I mean, whenever you develop your automation code or certain utilities or helper, uh, basically it's a right, I mean, piece of code, then has to be unit test. So so that way you can help. If you have bandwidth, then definitely in your team you have opportunity to work work closely with developers. You can contribute to uh, writing unit test for your application also. Yeah, but basically unit test is not a I mean, whenever you have code, uh, you have test I mean, for this. Yeah.
Right.
It's not limited to app core or test code. Code is code. Yeah. So it has a certain
this
kind of
this is
test.
this is a very good message for young testers. Don't be hung up on the role and say, oh, we cannot help because it's a developer's job. A lot of people say that, but it's not my job. It's a developer's job. If you can help, certainly. And this morning I was reading a very nice small post on LinkedIn from another fantastic tester, Shumon Day. I read his post and he wrote about how the MVC architecture can be used to do actually UI tests during unit testing. And that was such a beautiful thing because you know a lot of testers focus on testing at the UI layer. Okay, and if you have an understanding of the MVC architecture, you can actually go ahead and help developers in writing beautiful unit tests, which
Yeah.
will in the long run help you ultimately when you are actually testing the UI from a functional testing perspective. So
Yes.
so so again, great example, and that's the reason your response ties perfectly into what he wrote. He's another great guy. So so from the time you started testing, okay,
Hmm.
till today, have you seen the role of a tester evolving, or do you think there is something that still needs to be changed drastically in terms of the way testers think?
When I started my journey, overall, I see that there is an emergence, or what I say, role of testing really, expanding its horizon. Earlier, it's very limited to, or I would say it's very tool centric. When QTP or Selenium was, there were only two options. And now, with the, expanding the DevOps and Agile and everything, such processes, uh, it requires many tools where, essentially, QA's involvement is not just beyond to just validating functional aspect. Their duty just also, kicking off earlier discussion with product designer, developers in order to understand the overall architecture and provide inputs where to test, what layer of testing it requires there. Maybe unit test if you have the microservices, how services interact, maybe contract test do we require. So basically, I would say, with the, with the emergence of such thing, additional roles and responsibility, we are, as a quality person, we are assisting developers uh, uh, for, for that. So now, earlier it used to be quality assurance. Now I would say it's a quality assistance, where we are assisting people or enabling quality culture within the team. So tester or QA or any, I'm just not limiting to that role. So yeah, we have additional responsibility now. Need to assess every aspect. Maybe you can provide your designing flow. You can think of as an end user. If you don't like your product design, then how, you need to tell about very upfront to your designer. So this is very confusing UI. So it, for how can it, it would make your end user happy. So that way, think that. And when it comes to product design, you can definitely, provide your inputs to your architect. So this is the unnecessary call that we are making. So shall we optimize it? So earlier it was not like that, definitely. So now it's a very expanding and it's very uh, appealing nowadays.
Absolutely. And you made a few brilliant points. And one lesson that I take away from that point that you made is it is very important for the testers to be in constant touch with fellow developers, in constant conversation with architects. Try and understand what is happening under the hood. It is not always a black box. Understand what is going on. Okay. and give your opinion about it. I mean, you know, most of us, okay, we may have different degrees, BCA, MCA, whatever. Most of us need to understand the engineering aspect of building the software. Okay, we are by qualification also, a lot of us are engineers. And even if we are not qualified engineers, we can certainly look at the engineering aspect of how things are built, how it is designed, what processes followed to actually bring it into action. And for that, it is very important that you talk to people like architects, developers, not keep yourself in a silo. Now, we spoke about uh, performance and security being ignored, being an afterthought. Okay, do you there is an ongoing debate about these subjects, whether you should actually call them as non-functional testing areas.
Hmm.
What do you think about it? Are they
Mm,
non-functional essentially?
uh, Non-functional. If you look at non-functional or functional, uh, it's very essential part of your application. So non-functional or functional, it doesn't matter for me. It's a kind of testing. Performance is very internal part, so it's not a uh, it's an internal part of your code. I mean, where basically your ship, it has to be performant. So non-functional or functional, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Your application works well, be it functionality 1 plus 1 2, or how efficiently it calculates. It doesn't matter. Okay. So eventually, all such quality checks keep your customer eventually happy, because such things are not visible to your customer. He is just interested in your business needs. Your application has to be accurate in terms of functionality as well as the very performance. So this is the black box as a customer sees. So it doesn't matter. Basically, all type of testing are testing. It has a various boundaries, different expertise required. Uh, it's okay. I mean, but if you label that as a non-functional, it's again it's okay. Eventually, you will have to test.
Right, right. And I think you make a very fair point that, irrespective of what is it labeled, we need to understand that it is an essential part of the application, and we need to perform it, okay, irrespective of whatever it is. So, Priyank, I was interested in knowing what is your take on the whole emphasis on shift left and shift right, and what are your thoughts around that? Are
Mm,
they just ways of thinking, or is it really something really practical that needs to be followed as what some people call as best practice? So, what is your thought on shift left
uh,
and shift right?
Shift left and or shift right, or yeah, all are moreover it guidelines. It depends on adaptation, how each team interprets it. uh, Eventually, you need to deliver quality product. For that, cultural I mean, shifting towards left, where I mean, earlier it testing, we used to test in any later part. But with the emergence of we need to reduce uh, I mean uh, you know we have the frequent releases, and we need to make the fast pace with the market. Time to release has to be decreased, so for that testing we just move to very early phase.
Right.
So that is the basic emergence of shift left. So again, these are the guidelines. It depends on how how management or how your team adapts, and how open your team is basically. If you have that, still you need to define your boundaries. This is the role of QA, then this is the role of dev. Then I mean, you are adapting shift left, but still your mindset is not changing. So basically, you are following still SDLC, but in the form of, sprint. Doesn't make sense. That is
Right.
not shift left. You are just reducing that software life cycle. Earlier it used to be 3 to 4 months. Now it's within the 14 days, but still it's a SDLC. That is not agile or
Right.
shift left. So you are still restricting your team, defining very specific roles and boundaries. So that was the main thing: adaptation or shift left. And our team has to very open. If something is not working, just dump it and move forward, and have that active discussion with your team. How we can make our product quality better with different inputs. And you need to learn something. I mean, learn from failure is very important. So certain thing is not working, uh, you need to introspect. It's not a just checklist that you are making as a part of your planning and retro meeting. You action item is very important.
Right.
Certain thing that has to be learned. You will have
So
to always be better from your yesterday.
absolutely, absolutely. What you did yesterday, you must do better today. Fantastic point. So, Priyank, you mentioned in one of your previous responses about the culture of quality.
Hmm.
Okay, how do you build a culture of quality in your organization? What should I do? Suppose I am a powerful guy. Okay, I'm some sort of a manager, whatever manager. Okay, these days you
Hmm.
don't have the specific definition of a test manager in the organization, but I am a manager, or say I am head of quality, or whatever. I have some powers.
Hmm.
Okay, and I need to build the culture of quality in my team. What should I do? What is your advice for me?
Okay. So first of all, definitely you have power, but on the top of that, you have to be learnable. If you are not learnable, then there is no point. You are just imposing, or I would say dictatorship in your team. Okay. So I mean, you need to be very open, and you have the active discussion within your team. How can we make product quality better? And whenever you think through that, I mean, uh, check. I mean, get the different inputs, different thought process, and reach to common ground. Then you can define certain process. That way you can proceed. And at very, I mean, implementation level, you can define certain checks in order to make your product quality better. Active discussion that has to be happen, be it design level, engineering level, and certain quality checks with your pull request or etc. That is very implementation part, but you can think through that.
Well, yeah, I think so. I think you made some very good points there. And if I may just add to what you said, in my opinion, when you talk about quality culture, then you are, thinking of quality right from day one. You know, people say, people say very proudly, "Oh, quality is everybody's responsibility." But you have to understand, how is it everybody's responsibility? What is your role to play in that? So
Yes.
when you are looking at the requirements, the user stories, or whatever format you get it, okay, you must think of quality from that stage. So you have quality requirements, then you have a quality design, you have quality code, and quality tests, which
Yes.
means that the tests that you write should be of high quality as well. Now we are thinking about quality of the product and not looking at the quality of the test that we have written. We have written some crappy test, it will give you crappy results. Okay, if And if you are say implementing your automation in your thing, and and you want to use automation for test data generation, you will never get the test data if you are not looking at the code that you have actually written for generating that test data, right? If you're not looking at the quality of that, all the data that you will get will be garbage. And if you
Yes,
if you use garbage in your testing, you know what
you will
happens.
get, yes.
Garbage in, garbage out. So it's it's I think you made some very fantastic points. So Priyank, I want to learn from you some sincere advice that you would like to give to young people who are getting into the testing journey or want to make a career in testing. What is your advice for them?
So, I mean, testing is very fantastic. It's not a very, I would say in cricket analogy stuff. It's not a bowling because nowadays everyone wants to be batsman. It's not like that. So yeah, I mean, testing is very exciting job. It's not like you are just validating in and out. It's a very you know fantastic where you will have to learn internal of your application. So for that, you first of all, along with technical expertise, you also get opportunity to learn domain very well, and you have the active interaction with your product designer. You always think of end user. So many developer doesn't get a chance to think about our end user. They just write a code. They don't bother about how your end user came. So in the tester, you will have to wear many hats. So it's very appealing job. It's not a any other. It's I would say it's not a lesser than developer job. And if coding is your, I mean, you really like coding, testing is also, it's not a just writing, playing with Excel or writing your manual test. Uh, how can you test? I mean, so for that, automation testing is very essential part. It's not a separate thing. So again, developing framework, assisting a team to, how can we test this better? It's always automated solution are required. So testing touches many areas. You need to think about performance, functional, etc. And many developer doesn't get opportunity to work in such things. So you will have to be very fortunate that you are working in testing.
Fantastic. Now that we've had that advice for young testers, now I want to move to some advice for some experienced testers. So, a lot of times I get these messages on LinkedIn, on my social media, personal WhatsApp messages, and on Telegram. Hey, I'm stuck as a manual tester. I've been testing for 8 years, 10 years. I'm stuck as a manual tester. What do I do? So what is your advice for these people? How do these people get out of that thought that they are stuck as a manual tester?
So I really don't like. I mean, don't want to say that they're stuck. So for that, so first of all, you will have to help yourself. Okay, and even the you are manual tester, you need to think. Are you thinking about end user very well? So if you are very well in that area, you can get into product design. Okay, and think about that. You can be a product owner, or this is the streams that you will have to choose. And stuck, uh, if you stuck at any point of that, then it means that you doesn't try. If you don't try, then you definitely fail.
Right.
You will have to try, keep trying. If you like coding, if you want to move to automation testing, uh, first of all, you need to think about that. So far I am in doing this manually, how can I make it efficient? So you, you will have to think about that. Uh, it may be difficult. You will have to spend time on weekend, maybe learning something, some programming language, some tools which really helps. So that initiative, everyone, I mean, you will have to do, but it's
I
not a stucking. It's a, stuck is very, strong word. You will have to learn from your mistake itself. I would not say it's a mistake, but yeah, you will have to, you know, go with the flow.
Right. I I love that response. And there is something that I really love in that response. When you said that, I've been doing this manually, how can I make it more efficient?
Yes,
Now, when we talk about automation, the first thing a lot of testers think is speed. They don't think about efficiency. And efficiency and speed are two different things.
yes,
So brilliant. I mean, I really want to commend you for that thought process. And I think that is very important for testers to realize that automation helps you in becoming more efficient. Yes, your work will get done faster. Yes, you will be lesser prone to errors. But what you also get is a lot of efficiency in your work. So when you are thinking of becoming getting better at the craft, yes, understanding the craft is the fundamental. Testing, test craftsmanship is the precursor for test automation. So you have to understand the basics. How do you gather quality requirements? How do you ask questions? How do you design your tests? All of those things you will have to understand, and then obviously you want to get better at it. That's where automation comes in. So very
definitely.
good point made Priyank. Now, in a lot of conversations that I have with senior management and you know, oftentimes the discussion is, oh, you know what, testers, we don't see a future for testers in this organization after everything is going to be automated. Okay,
Hmm.
we are also seeing the advent of AI. Do you really believe that automation or AI will replace testers?
I think it's a marketing gimmick nowadays. You read many LinkedIn posts. So yeah, it's a AI and machine learning are there. I mean, it's been since more than 3 to 4 years now. It's everywhere. Uh, so it's not a replacement. Basically, whenever any new things comes, it basically opens the opportunity in testing also. So it's not a replacement. Uh, and testing is, I mean, it's AI. I would say AI is another opportunity where QA can help for maybe thinking through about the efficiency of algorithm, testing about its accuracy, etc. And on the top of that, you can also think about that how can you make your test automation uh, very efficient, maybe failure analysis or etc, defining patterns etc, where you can implement such thing. It's not a replacement. You can always add in your day-to-day work. It's not replacement. And you should not fail, get into that fall of that tools or any marketing narrative. You just be it with yourself.
Exactly. I mean, if you hear something, okay, if you read something somewhere, the first thing that you must do is question that, challenge it, understand if it's a valid statement or not. Uh, it, quite often it is a marketing gimmick nowadays, like you said, Priyank, and it is very important for people, not just software testers, for everybody. Okay, in this society also, there is so much of misinformation being spread now with social media and WhatsApp. people don't verify that piece of information that is being given to them. Okay,
Yes.
so if something comes, people believe. Okay, like for example, I would like to give you an example, and this is a very famous joke. Okay, a few years ago, there was this post that came on WhatsApp that the Indian national anthem has been chosen as the best national anthem by UN, and people really believed it, right? People really went on to believe that, and I was like, seriously, guys? I mean, do you really think that there has to be a competition like that? And that everybody is coming at the UN and singing their national anthem, and then there are judges, sitting there and judging that? No, the UN, folks have a lot of other things to do. There is a lot of things that can be done, that need to be done for the improvement of the world. They are not
Yes.
sitting there and deciding, oh, this country's national anthem is number
Audition.
one and this is number two. They don't want to start another world war. They are
Yeah.
responsible for stopping the war, not starting a war. So
Yeah.
this is just an example of how this happens. And this trend you have seen in the software industry also.
Hmm.
Okay, suddenly some tool vendor comes and makes a statement. Oh, yes, I was talking about a post from Michael Bolton, and the first screenshot he shared, it showed some 590% improvement. And I'm like, how are you measuring 590%?
Hmm.
What are you doing? And it is surprising to see people believing that stat. Okay, because people are buying that stuff, right? These tools, people are in, companies are investing. So whoever is taking that buying decision, dude, please check the facts. Ask those questions. So Priyank, we've had a lot of serious chat so far about testing. So I just want to go and have some fun. So what I will do is I will start the next segment of the interview called rapid fire. Rules are
Hmm.
very simple. I have a few questions for you,
Yes.
and you have 5 seconds to think about the answer.
Okay.
Okay. And if there is a multiple choice question,
Hmm.
then you have to give reason for that choice.
Okay.
Okay. First question,
Hmm.
khakra or bakarwadi?
Khakra.
Why?
Because khakra is not fried and it's healthy.
I like that. I like that. Well, I prefer khakra too. Well, so Gujarat has got so much food to offer. It's unbelievable. I mean, how many varieties of khakra are on offer? It's amazing to see. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember going to a store to get some khakra. They
Hmm.
said, "आप ये try करो, आप ये try करो," and that guy, he made me taste like 10 or 12 different varieties of khakra that he was having, and he said,
Hmm.
"We have more, but now currently only these 10, 12 are in stock."
Hmm.
I was like, "Wow, this is."
You have pav bhaji, pani puri, pizza, pasta, etc. Khakra.
And people are getting more and more creative these days.
Yes, more and more creative. Noodles khakra, Maggi khakra will come.
Right. So you like watching cricket?
Yes,
You're going to be watching the India Pakistan game tomorrow, right?
yes,
Not
definitely.
missing that for anything, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I
So
mean,
okay. So now we are seeing that the COVID cloud is reducing, and now people are beginning to travel more and more.
hmm.
So, what is your dream destination that you would like to travel to?
uh, Europe. Europe. Basically, I want to go to Scandinavia, Norway, Finland. If I
Right.
got opportunity, I will definitely go, especially excited to see, northern light aurora. That is one thing that I want to see actually. Uh, how basically our earth, which, I mean, internal things are working of, in the study we have been uh, saying that our earth is a big magnet. So how that miracle happens, how that entire solar system and ecosystem works basically.
Take, I'll give you some good advice on that. Take a flight to Iceland in December, and
Okay.
you will see a lot of northern lights. I mean,
Okay.
not exactly Scandinavia, yeah, partly very
Mhm.
close, not too far,
Mhm.
but yeah. So, and yeah, of course, if you're coming to Europe, Amsterdam becomes a pit stop, right? So
Yes.
come come to Amsterdam, come to the Hague. That's where I am, so we can have a party. And then
Yeah, we'll go to coffee shop.
oh, you know about coffee shop? That is amazing. Wow. Okay. Cool. Cool. We are not getting into the details of coffee shop in this discussion, but I am impressed. I'm really impressed that you know about coffee shops. Well, guys, just for your information, I mean, you might Google what coffee shops actually mean in the Netherlands, but yeah, coffee shops are not something
It's not
related to
made for
coffee.
coffee.
You don't get coffee in coffee shops in the Netherlands. Okay, you get coffee in cafes, yeah,
Cafes.
or in restaurants, but not in coffee shops. And why? Please go and Google yourself. You will, you'll find some very interesting things. All right. So your last rapid fire question. Okay. If you were to um, have the power of having some other profession,
Hmm.
okay, for a day, which profession would it be?
For a day, cooking. Cooking and astronomy are two my hidden thing. I mean, hidden areas that I really love to explore. Cooking, I over the weekend I try something
Good.
from YouTube. YouTube cook, I would say,
YouTube
and
is the inspiration.
yeah, and for astronomy, ast- astrology is something, right? It's a palm
Yeah, yeah.
handwriting. Yeah, it's about astronomy. Yeah, that is one area that I really, if I don't be in that, if I if I'm not a software engineer, I would try definitely go for ISRO or something.
So how
Yeah.
how how do you have a telescope something already?
No, no, actually, not now. But in future, after 45, I will definitely invest some my money in that area because I love to, planets and life, how our universe made. There may be different possibility of Earth because we have that billions of stars and planets are there. So that really surprised me. It has to be, possibility that similar to our Earth planet exists somewhere.
Yeah.
How can we reach?
True. Yeah,
So
astronomy and stargazing is something that even I enjoy. But unfortunately, this summer we did not have so many clear nights because it was cloudy and stormy. And in
hmm,
fact, we did not feel as if we had a summer this year. It was more like, from spring directly jump into autumn, and the autumn continues. And autumn
hmm,
is probably one of the most difficult seasons to survive in the Netherlands because
hmm,
it is rainy, because it is stormy. There are lots of winds and stuff like that, and it becomes really boring, and the sun doesn't want to come out, and that's why.
oh,
So even if it comes out, well, it doesn't stay for long. Okay,
hmm,
and when I arrived here in the Netherlands, my doctor said something very interesting. He said, you come from a country where you get plenty of vitamin D,
hmm,
and this is a country where you get plenty of vitamin A. So vitamin D is something that we have to take as tablets here,
Yes.
and it is a prescription for almost everybody who's coming in from that tropical region, you know.
Hmm.
So if you come from India or let's say Malaysia, Singapore, you are put on a course of a daily dose of vitamin D by your
Hmm.
doctor. It becomes very important because there is very little sunlight that we get. So the natural source is cut down. So that's that's another thing. Well, okay. So let's get back to talking about testing. Now, I want to understand or learn from you the things that would make me a more efficient, um, innovative tester. Okay, what are the things? What are the areas that I need to focus on starting today?
Innovative tester. Okay. So basically, innovative tester, first of all, you need to think about different aspect of quality, I would say. Uh, Always think about your end user. Okay. Uh, so, and apart from that, if you want to, mm, I mean, assist in your building quality, I mean, maybe quality culture, I would say, then in that case programming very essential thing. You can learn something new. I mean, maybe you can provide a solutioning side of uh, of, of that particular thing, and propose certain things. Think about how can you always do in very lesser time with quality and efficiency are not compromised in that case. Maybe that would be helpful for everything whatever you do. Programming, it's very essential part. Without programming, you cannot do. And on the top of that, think about that quality aspect. So both combinations are required. Basically programming is very essential to formalize your ideas, whatever you are thinking. How can you articulate or how can you do that? So programming very essential part in that case.
Right.
Maybe you can learn, pick up any programming language, Python, Java, Ruby, etc.
Right.
And and focus about that. I'm delivering something area which really helping our team to make it quality culture. You can create a board that gradually ping that this is the uh, defect that we are. This is the dashboard. You can automate dashboard, etc. Maybe design some solutioning for that really uh, create a chart out of that. These are the program, I mean, a problematic area of our application, etc. So these are the various aspects that you can help.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think those are some very important areas to focus on. And that emphasis that you gave on programming becomes even more essential. Now, that brings me to my next question. Okay. Sometimes a lot of uh, testers say, I am not very comfortable with programming.
Hmm.
Okay. So I feel that first of all, there is some fear in
Hmm.
them. Okay. That's one aspect. The other aspect is some people genuinely don't are not interested in programming.
Hmm.
So what is it that they can do differently to first of all overcome that fear, or and secondly to generate some interest in trying to program? What can they do?
Okay, so for that, first of all, why I need to understand why they are not like it, because of some technical or very terms, or they feel that they are boring, or this is something else of, or they are not meant for that. So in that case, you they need to identify their talent. Maybe they are very design, I mean, they are very good in product designing, so they can contribute in that area. maybe you can pair with some of the good developer in that case, and I mean overall deliver the product. There must be n number of possible ways how can you participate in quality culture build. It's not just limited to programming, but if you really like programming, then do it. I mean, there are thousands of excuses of not doing things, but you have only one excuse to do things. I mean, if you like it, I mean, if you like programming, just do it. Don't argue that I don't have time. I mean, for a day, I mean, you have uh, 24 hours. I mean, at least you can spend a day for learning things. Maybe you can pick up any Udemy course, or there are I mean oceans of online courses where you can learn programming basic. So once you go for once you learn very basic, after that you can solve some certain programming challenges. You maybe lead code or something, and that is the one aspect. So once you're comfortable with that, just spoil your hand and create your own GitHub repository. Maybe you can create design some applications. If you are interested in Android or iOS, design your own applications, make your own APIs, etc. So that way you can proceed. But it's not an excuse that I don't have time, because you can at least spend time, and you will have to set your goals. Like in the next 6 months, I want to fluent or in that particular programming language. So for that, what are the essential things? You need to narrow down your goals. So for 6 months, it's very big. I want to efficient, and you will have monthly goals. So in the first month, I will go for basic. After that, I solve the GitHub challenges, etc. Lead code challenges. Then I create my own APIs. Maybe it's a longer phase. And after that, once you do that, you can approach some expert in that areas, and how can I write code more efficient, maybe review etc things. So you need to be very realistic. Don't think that I want in within the 6 months I want to learn two programming language, Docker, Kubernetes, etc. So things are not going like that. Apart from that, you will have to also contribute in your work. So that is your prime focus. That is basically bringing your bread and butter for you. So yeah, that way, and you will have to be very realistic in your goals.
Absolutely, absolutely. And some brilliant points made there. I like especially one line that you mentioned. For not doing something, you may find 1,000 reasons. For doing
Yes.
it, you need only one. So
Yeah.
find that one reason why you want to learn programming or why you need to learn programming. And,
Yes.
and that will help you go a long, long way. Priyank, it has been an
Yes.
absolute pleasure talking to you today. I mean, you are such a fun guy to be around, and I now know why people speak so highly of you. You know, people who have worked with you, people like Anand Bagmar, people like Lavanya, people like Abhijit, Shyam, why they speak so highly of you. Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge today. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you today.
Same here. Same here, Bridges. It was really nice sharing ideas and good interaction.
All right. Well,
Okay.
the conversation is not over yet because you know I am seriously working on a chapter 2 of the Tester Speak series. So you will soon get another invitation for me, and I want to do it totally differently this time. So there are some ideas right now being thought of and being some creativity is going on in the background. So you will soon get another invitation. Don't be surprised. All
Mm-hmm.
right. Okay. So until we speak next time, let's keep chatting at the test chat and keep spreading the knowledge. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.